Okay, so Plato's allegory of the cave actually is, well known in philosophy, and it really points out how, you need to have, sensory experience. If you limit sensory experience, well, then you limit, the ability to sort of perceive specific aspects of your environment. And this is actually remarkably reflected in research that was done, very famous research, Nobel Prize winning research done by Hubel and Wiesel at the Rockefeller University in New York City, where they, and I apologize, but they worked with kittens and they would close their eyes so they weren't able to get early light input, and they found, that they never developed the appropriate routing of networking of neurons networked back into the brain that would allow them to actually see. And this is true also in people, right? If a baby is born and has cataracts in their eye, like clouding of the lens of the eye, so that light can't properly reach the photoreceptors at the back of the eyeball in a structure called the retina. Well, then without this early experience, even relatively short periods where the cataract is blocking light input, without that early sensory experience and sort of kind of exploration of that sensory input, through looking and observing, then that individual will never learn, or never develop the ability to perceive, aspects, an understanding of what it is they're looking at, or where those objects and people in their environment might be, even if the photoreceptors are still fine. They can still respond appropriately, to specific wavelengths of incoming electromagnetic radiation, in the range of what we call visible light. There's a certain, what we refer to as a sensitive period for development of these networks that link sensory detection to networks in the brain that are going to be essential for your ability to perceive, different aspects of your environment. If a child has a cataract, it's a kind of an emergency. You really want to remove that cataract so that they can get input. Now, Hubel and Wiesel went further. They actually, with the kitten experiments, they tried, removing certain kinds of visual information from the environment, the early developmental environment of these kittens. And for example, they would have a chamber where the kitten was developing that had no horizontal lines at all, not a single horizontal line. And it turns out that the kitten would not presumably be able to perceive, these sorts of edges, or like a cliff, for example, in this horizontal direction. There's an illusion. It's called the visual cliff kind of illusion. If if you've ever been to, I think in the Grand Canyon, they've got a glass floor over part of the big drop, and in Chicago, in one of the tall buildings, you can go out onto a glass floor and look down. And most people will hesitate. They're very aware that perceptually it looks like it's a dramatic and dangerous drop. And kittens raised in normal environments with normal visual input will absolutely, stop at an edge, even if there's glass. They're aware, that there is an edge. But those that were raised without any horizontal lines in their environment never stopped. They just were not aware. They were not perceptually aware of the existence of that, drop. So your early experience with various aspects of the energies of the world is essential for driving the development of networks in the brain that will link sensory detection to perceptual experience. And we're going to be seeing quite a bit about this as we continue with this.